Welcome back to the planet of Dolos. Where we last left off, the race known as the stingraliens has traveled to the black hole which it orbits. Out of the many habitable worlds in the galaxy, this planet was chosen and fleets of colony ships have arrived to take advantage of the fertile biosphere beneath the ice, becoming the new freeloaders on this awful fucking rock. But this journey was not without sacrifice and hardship. It's time to talk about the climate. Political climate letters. Get ready for some history, you fucking nuts. Many generations lived and died over the 20,000 years it took the ship to venture at sublight speeds to arrive at the Dark Traveler. The laws of the governmental system that had been provided to the stingraliens had been written into the structure of the ship itself so as not to be lost. Yet over the passage of time, their history had become distorted and they forgot the true purpose of their journey. Mining operations began immediately after landing on the surface to sample the unique composition of interstellar dust that had accumulated on the surface of the planet. This dust was composed of layers of heavy metals and rare elements that had been stripped out of the cores of stars, which has been ripped apart as though consumed by a great beast. Soon the mining operations stagnated, slowed by the bureaucratic process of the government. Aboard the starships, the average worker would have to trudge through an estimated 149 layers of paperwork requiring signatures, credit card information, and wakey digits on the backs of the cards. At this time the megastructures that housed the millions of stingraliens that called it home would begin its slow deconstruction. A process that wasn't without strife as a sect of the stingralien government formed to oppose the colonization of Dolos. Within the insane labyrinth of walls in the 457 E1 starship, a subrace of stingraliens formed due to the unintended effects of genetic drift over time. These stingraliens, dubbing themselves the successors, developed a divine reverence of their ship. Thus deconstructing it was not an option to them. A small rebel group sabotaged 6,400 construction vehicles to prevent them from dismantling their home. Armed with construction tools as makeshift weapons, they attacked, generating the first of many civil wars. Civil police forces were quickly formed to stop and cull the rebellion, but it took many cycles of Dolos before the successors surrendered. After so much bloodshed, they were finally exiled to the southern wastes of the planet, where the thicker ice made it nearly impossible to obtain life-sustaining water. After that fucking waste of time, the stingraliens resumed their work, drilling deep into the ice crust to construct the first outpost which would become the new capital of the oligarchy. Putting their titanic tech to work, they used the dominant hydrogen and helium isotopes from the fusion reaction to mine the ice, getting paid in crystal shit for doing so. They eventually began to use the ice to construct hyperdrives for the construction of full-scale settlements throughout the deepest and most remote reaches of the planet. Unbeknownst to the Dolosians, the successors had a different way of making a living off of the ice. They would harvest the pollutants found in the ice and extract helium and hydrogen from the frigid ocean and sell it as fuel in an underground market. During a particularly strong fracking run of the ice shelf, Dolos suffered a series of low-pressure events caused by their accelerated development of the ice mining industry. The bottom layer of the ice had frozen solid and blocked the flow of water to the surface, putting the oligarchy at risk of being encased in ice. The stingraliens countered this issue by excavating the ice to create a series of hydroblast generators located around the colony. These were built to pump water back to the ocean in order to thaw the ice shelf. Due to the pull and tug on the ice shelf, construction was difficult and led to deeper and deeper drilling into the ice crust. Over the next 90 Earth years, spherical water settlements were built in the depths. As heavy elements from the surface were introduced to the biosphere, drastic changes occurred in the water chemistry which brought new and wonderful forms of pollution to the Desani colonies, including xenon gases. Due to the nature of xenon gas, it must be generated with infusion laser reactions within the underwater settlements. Life on the frigid ocean floor of Dolos continued on, forced to adapt to their space intruded on by the asshole stingraliens. Because of the tendency for some species of Desani to build up boron on their tissues as a deterrent against microbial predators, the stingraliens began to cultivate them as they were a powerful psychoactive element to their brains. The skeletons of the Dazani led to advancements in the silicon circuitry of their technology. Now the first renaissance of the stingraliens has finally begun as this new era of society begins. The reigning nobility stakes claim to Dolos in order to seize the metal-rich dust of the planet. The spherical cities of the stingraliens grow like a fungus-like organism that feeds off the ice itself to give them life. However, after the complete dismantling of the starships and the repurposing after several Logosphere revolutions, a great and mysterious attack had commenced on the cycles following that had led to the implosion and fucking annihilation of one of the spherical housings that put to rest over 4,374 stingraliens. Of course they don't die. No stingralien has ever been recorded to truly die. When stingrays achieve a state that would result in grievous harm, many organs and body structures rapidly cease functioning, yet still resume normal metabolic function as if the body was still alive. Decomposition is a foregone concept in stingralien society as only consciousness and unconscious states exist. Cannibalism is commonplace so long as it stays within one's family line. Isn't that just a fucked up bit of trivia? Anyways, the attack was later found to be carried out by successor sympathizers that were in communication with the potential secret successor sect that existed within the spherical colonies. This attack was a plot to upset governmental forces as it assassinated the noble stingralien Bulgnuth VI and the arch-ripcode of Red Wax. This attack was taken very seriously by the remaining 4 nobles, which gathered a small militia group to execute those involved. The High Noble Bjorfragate 9 was the most enraged by the attack, which enacted reforms that restricted stingralien freedoms in the selection of hobbies they could perform in their free time. The first colony became to be known as Province by its people and would be the central hub of commerce as the industry slowly garnered a foothold in the region. Other branching spheres would grow off from the province and become known as the market village of Bud to the north, Praeus home to Great Riches to the east, Elburn which housed much of the middle class to the west, and Madry which was the mining and manufacturing hub to the southwest. The tensions with the successor faction was quickly escalating, and the Cold War was predicted to erupt in province, with nobles being swayed by successor sympathizers, with Zolan 9 leading the attack. Against the sympathizers, a division of war was created, with Zolan 9 anointing a leadership team and council in the space of Praeus known as the Rangers of Red Wax, with the intent to seize political control of province. During a suspected successor, Corwin would move in to take power back. This action, however, would come at the cost of a decisive action against loyalists of the Red Wax by a noble named Arduz, who instilled a civilian unrest in Praeus against the Rangers of Red Wax. Arduz was a suspected successor sympathizer who made controversial taxations of starship reconstruction operations. This civil war would prove to be decisive in the region of Praeus as Zolan 9 and his Rangers of Red Wax forces continue to fight against these. Alright, this is about the longest video I'll probably make about this for a while. Will Arduz overwhelm the Rangers of Red Wax and take back control of Praeus? Will Zolan 9 finally live up to his own expectations? Will the Dazani survive the onslaught of pollution? Will I ever be able to afford to buy groceries this month? Find out next time when we discuss how the fuck did I find the time to make this video.